Hi, I'm Megan Murphy, the VP of Product at Hotjar, where I lead our data, design, and product management teams. So today, I'm not here to talk about Hotjar's product. In fact, this is part of our 4-part series called Building in Public. This part is pretty fun. I actually have no idea what we're going to talk about because our brand and marketing team sent out a survey of questions and about 50-something people responded. So I'm going to choose them at random. By the way, Dad, you should be proud of me for catching that because I really could not catch a thing my entire childhood. So from 1 meter away, I caught this. You would be proud. So I'm going to read out these questions and yeah, here we go. Do you sprint manage your personal life too? Wow, we're really going right in with the intense questions. Okay, so not necessarily, but I do a couple of things that you might recognize from building products in my personal life. So one of those examples, I really hope my partner is okay with me saying this, but we have a sort of relationship retro where we ask ourselves, how did the last X couple of weeks go and what could we have done better and what could we improve and what should we continue doing? I'm really sorry, babe, if you're not comfortable with me saying this, but I think the relationship retro in a kind of therapy routine is really helpful. All right, Pete, what does the high-level process look like for building a product strategy that everyone backs up? So I must say the most influential book on strategy that I've read in terms of a hands-on way to apply it comes from the book Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. And actually what I did after or during my time reading this book was I made a Trello board where I had columns for each of the different, let's say, building blocks of the product strategy. And so I think a product strategy that will land with people, like rule 1, it's got to be inspiring. And that's also rules 2, 3, and 4, by the way. Because if it's a strategy that people are like not gonna hook into, doesn't matter how great it is. So that's the first 4 rules. The second is like making it really actionable. And this is where good strategy, bad strategy comes in. So I think that the first thing you need to do is figure out, okay, our product vision is this and we want to go in this direction, right? That's our elusive North Star that we'll probably never reach, but it's the pursuit of doing so that makes it all worthwhile in the first place. And then the strategy there has to confront the major challenges that your business and product, assuming it's a product-led company, they might be one and the same, like the challenges that your business faces. I'll share an example at Hotjar. One of our product strategy pillars is that users can find, sort, and act on truly insightful signals of user behavior. And some of the challenges that we face around this are the fact that people collect a ton of data, not just from Hotjar, but also from other products, other quantitative products like Mixpanel and Amplitude or Heap. They might collect insights from user interviews and store them in another place. So there's this proliferation of insights that makes it feel noisy. And that's a challenge we have to face. So then on a tactical note, how do we take it from identifying the challenge? We put a plan in place to figure out what we're going to do about it. Okay, in order to help reduce the noise and increase the signal to noise ratio, we want to do these 5 things. And these are assumptions that need to be validated through further discovery. So this is an example of how to make the strategy really actionable. But you said to make it land with people and make it really speak to them. And for that, I would say you need to put yourself in the position of people who will read this. What does your audience need to hear? How will sales contribute to this mission? How will product marketing contribute? How will engineering solve really complex technical problems? And you really need to rally people and show them that together, their disciplines will help you overcome those challenges in pursuit of that product vision. If it's all about the product and it's all about the users and it's not about all of the disciplines that make it real, people are gonna be like, well, what does this matter for me, right? You need to hook them in and show them that you need them to make this a reality. And I would say that's how to make it land. All right. This is from Aman. How do you handle strong voices or hippos? Well, I don't believe that a loud voice should necessarily like bring in another loud voice because then you just get into a battle and nobody wants to work. And so I wouldn't recommend trying to amp up your volume. Maybe you can try a couple different things. So in a meeting setting, you could try sending a pre-read in your meeting invitation so that folks who might need time to prepare and think ahead of time can do so, can digest that, and can then come more prepared with what they might want to contribute. Another thing you can do is probably the really hard thing, which is to just practice radical candor. And we throw that term out there. It's a Kim Scott's book, Radical Candor, that describes how a healthy, open environment is one where you are giving people actionable, solid feedback at an opportune moment. Like, if you tell this person, hey, I don't feel heard. I had something to contribute there, and I didn't feel like there was space for me to contribute. And I understand that everybody has a different comfort level, and that sometimes titles get in the way of being real with each other. But I would encourage you, Aman, to find a way to seek that comfort. Maybe it's not spoken in real time. Maybe it's written. Maybe it's a different format. Maybe you might need some guidance from another colleague whom you really trust. It's a really tough spot, but I would say that through honest, direct, candid feedback from the heart that doesn't come off as attacking the person or their character, but just the behavior, the very specific things they do, trying to mirror the behavior of those who you think do speak up well, and then also trying to create the conditions where everybody will be prepared to contribute. I'm hopeful, Aman, that these three approaches can help you. We've got Carolina. What are the key inputs to make a compelling product story? So I think the key inputs for a compelling product story, I'm assuming, Carolina, that you don't mean user story and just like the narrative around building a product. I think there's one really important part, which is the medium of telling that story, right? So when you're trying to articulate your product vision and the strategy that supports it, and ideally the principles that you use as decision-making guardrails, when we tell these stories to people, we might default to the way that we want to hear a story or that works well for us. So for some, that might mean writing a blog post, internal blog post. For others, that might mean making a video. For others, that might mean a presentation. But I think that great stories cross a ton of mediums. So you might also create infographics to help bring your ideas to life. Or you might create a cartoon or like a little comic book sketch in order to help people find new engaging ways for your story to land. So I think the medium is one part that's very important. Another part for a compelling product story is to remember, this is an old sales adage it's called WIFI. What's in it for you? And I think that this is often the most simple but overlooked part of telling a narrative, which is, if I'm trying to work with my sales colleagues to help us bring a product to market, or of course our marketing colleagues, I'm not going to tell them why this feature is great. I'm going to tell them the customer problems that it solves in what context. That way they can translate into a narrative that will better land with their sales leads or in their product marketing materials. Nikki Gupta. For product squads where a UX designer is absent or shared with multiple teams, how can PMs ensure proper qualitative and quantitative discovery work takes place? So I think there's a couple things we can do. First, we need to make sure that the role of product keeps a balance that feels natural to constantly do discovery and delivery at the same time. This is popularized by Teresa Torres in all of her work around continuous discovery, which inspires what I share with you here. But I think that discovery is not an optional thing. Like, learning which problems to solve and making sure you carve out space to go understand those problems through discovery, like user interviews, or maybe you're using card sorting exercises, or you're doing prototyping, whatever flavor of discovery it might be. That's not optional. Like, that's half the gig. That's half of what I expect from the product managers on my team. And I think that another thing we do at Hotjar can help you as well. Every quarter, many folks will be familiar with the concept of objectives and key results. And those are really, really output focused, right? Those are rigidly quantitative in nature, because what it is actually delivery objectives and quantifiable key results. At Hotjar, we also set discovery objectives and key questions. So the expectation is not that discovery work would be sacrificed if the pressure's on and the clock is ticking toward the end of the quarter or month or whatever, and you have to deliver, because actually you're expected to make space for that discovery. So I would encourage you to try to think of your own discovery objectives and the key questions you want to answer such that you can discover enough to go deliver on them later. And the other thing I would encourage you to do, Nikki, as well, is I can speak to you from my own experience as a product manager before I moved into product leadership roles. I never personally thought it was the responsibility for a product, a UX designer or a researcher to do discovery. I considered that my own priority as a product manager. And so I had no formal training in discovery or user research, but I just started to find ways to answer questions that I had. So I would look at subreddits on very specific topics to see what the discourse is around, I don't know, some new user pattern or some problem space. I would find people to interview myself, and I did plenty of awful interviews where I'm sure I obeyed no good practices at all, and I would probably be embarrassed of the quality of those now, but I never let my own naivete block me from trying to learn. So I took ownership and accountability of my own discovery work because I thought that's what I had to do to get the job done. When I was at Skyscanner on the car hire team, I didn't really understand the offline component of a specific problem we were thinking about with renting cars. So I spent a week at the airport at the car rental desk watching people. I didn't have to find any researcher or designer to go do some interviews. I just went to our car hire partners, asked them to sit at the desk and took notes all day. And then it helped me so much that I ended up bringing our engineering and design team there as well, and we made like a product offsite around it. So I would say my most personal advice to you is to just get scrappy. It's the thing that has helped me learn so much and continue to do that. All right. Nikki Gupta, how would your mom describe what you do? I'm debating how personal to get. So I was raised by a single father and I don't have a mom, so I'm going to sub out the word mom and put dad. So my dad, how would he describe what I do? Let's see. My dad would probably describe me, like until a couple years ago, he would definitely say tech support, that I fix laptops. Often confused with the Genius Bar, except for he thought that I wouldn't require appointments and you could just call me like, Meg, this is broken. So yeah, until recently I would say tech support. But these days he would probably describe me as running a bigger team that does tech support. Sushant Kumar, what's the long-term product vision of Hotjar? With almost 1 million active sites, I'm sure there would be a long list of new initiatives going on. Let's see how much I can share with you here that Hotjar would be proud of me for sharing, in the spirit of transparency, but not necessarily like telling you everything so that there's no room for surprise when it happens. I would say that the long-term vision for Hotjar's product is to move from a set of siloed tools into one collective experience that transforms user insights into business outcomes. You know, for a long time, we've operated under the guise of see how people are really experiencing your product. But I would argue that we have to double down, not just on that, that's one part, but another part is see how people feel when they experience your product. The combination of behavior and emotion is something that I think over years we've learned that that's what our customers are really looking for, right? So I would say a more cohesive experience that's less tool specific and a better caption of how people feel as they use your product, shared with you in an easy way for you to build compelling evidence-based stories, because that's what we're doing in the end, right? Like we have 1 million sites using Hotjar, and we are collecting tons of session recordings, lots of survey responses and heat maps and so forth. But all of that is just evidence for a product team to make a decision to make their product better. And so giving you all of those ingredients in a way that you can like lightweight, put a great narrative together and sell your ideas in a way that's clear and easy to convince those around you that you as a product team are prioritizing brilliantly, that's where we're going.